Hey everyone, it's Kenji here from YouTube channel Kenji Explains, and I've partnered with Money Under 30 to create a series of videos, and this one's going to be on the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. So let's get into it. So what is the 50-30-20 rule? In short, it's a budgeting rule that divides your after-tax income into three main categories. 50% are your needs, 30% are your wants, and 20% are your savings. And this concept was actually made famous by US Senator and former Harvard professor Elizabeth Warren in her book All Your Worth with Amelia Warren on personal finance back in 2005. After conducting research on budgeting, they found that having a simple rule like this one was best to keep your finances in check. So I'll break the video down into three main parts. Firstly, we'll look at whether you should have a budget. Secondly, we'll get into the details of the 50-30-20 rule. And lastly, we'll look at some of the limitations and some alternative ways that you can budget as well. So before we talk about the 50-30-20 rule, we first need to determine why people budget and whether it's necessary in your situation. And broadly speaking, there's three main reasons people have budgeting plans. The first one has to do with saving up for a large acquisition. A house or a car are among the most expensive things that an average person will buy, and so it takes a conscious effort to try and make that happen. The second is to control your spending habits. In today's internet-driven world, it's just so easy to spend money. You don't even need to leave your house and you can just do it from your bedroom in your phone. And so it's very easy for you to just press that buy button and slowly see your savings disappear. The third is debt. Maybe you have high interest debt that you want to try pay off as soon as possible, or maybe you're looking to take on debt, and so for that you want to try improve your credit score. Overall, it helps to have a target in mind. This way you can assess whether you're on track or you're slightly behind, and you might need to make some changes before it's too late. After all, as the saying goes, you can't score without a goal. Next up, let's look at the 50-30-20 rule and break down each category. For the needs, these are the essentials you can't live without. So think of having housing, having transportation, groceries, utilities, things like that. Secondly, we have the wants, and these are non-essentials, so things that you could live without, but they do make your life a lot more fun and comfortable. As much as most people enjoy going out for dinner, nobody really needs to eat at a restaurant, they can always just eat at home. So some common wants include gym memberships, travel, restaurants, shopping, etc. Lastly, we have the savings, and this doesn't just mean leave your money in a bank account and don't touch it. For most people, it also includes the IRA contributions, investing in the stock market, and so on. So let's now look at a real-life example, and the first step is to calculate your pre-tax monthly income. If you're an employee, this is fairly easy to figure out. On the other hand, if you're a freelancer, meaning that your salary is probably variable, so you might be up 1 month, down 1 month, in that scenario, what you want to do is try to calculate an average. So you could take an average of the past 6 months or of the past 12 months to figure that out. And if you're curious to see where your spending has been going in the past, most mobile banking apps will have that breakdown for you. For example, here's Bank of America's mobile app. As you can see, they've got a breakdown of spending per month as well as by category, from utilities to transport, insurance, and more. That's going to give you a good picture of how you need to adjust for things. And let's say that in this scenario, you earn $5,000 in pre-tax income, and after checking with your accountant, you've decided to set aside 25% for your taxes. So that means that your after-tax income will be 1 minus 0.25, standing for the 25%, times the 5,000, which equals 3,750. So that's what we're working with. And keep in mind that if you're a US employee, depending on the 401k that you have, you could have some tax savings there. But for simplicity, in this case, we'll assume an after-tax income of $3,750. From there, 50% of that will go to the essentials, so that's 0.5 times 3,750, so that equals 1,875. A further 30% goes into your wants, so that's 0.3 times 3,750, which equals to 1,125. And the remaining 20 goes to your savings, so that's 0.2 times 3,750, so that's $750. Now, if you're not bothered to calculate this yourself, Money Under 30 has got your back for you, as they have their very own 50-30-20 budgeting rule calculator. You can find it in this article if you scroll down. Here you'll find the calculator, and all you need to do is type your after-tax income. In this case, we said it was 3,750, and all you need to do is press calculate, and from there you'll get that breakdown. While the 50-30-20 rule is beneficial to a lot of people, it does have some limitations as well. For example, if you live in an expensive city like New York or San Francisco, or you earn a low income, you might have to spend the majority of your salary on rent, and so that's breaking the 50% rule for your needs. Conversely, what if you don't reach the limits on a certain category? For example, maybe you don't reach that 30% for your wants. Does that mean you should boost the percent for the needs, or should you boost them for your savings? And the last limitation we'll consider is that it's a fixed percentage. So maybe you already have a great job that pays you a very good salary and you're quite comfortable with it. Should you still be spending 80% of that and only saving 20%? Or should you even try to boost that saving amount so that you can live a more comfortable lifestyle in the future? So if you feel like the 50-30-20 rule is limiting for you, here's two more budgeting techniques that you might want to consider. The first is the 80-20 rule, and this is even more straightforward than the 50-30-20 that we looked at earlier. In this case, you need to save 20% of your income, and everything else you're free to spend however you want. It doesn't matter if it's a need or it's a want. So it doesn't matter if it's for shopping purposes or it's for paying down rent. The cool thing about this one is that you don't need to be thinking about it so much. So you don't need to be splitting the costs and the wants all the time. Instead, all you need to do is put 20% of your after-tax income into your savings, and everything else you're free to spend as you wish. Another budgeting technique that you can consider is the 50-15-5 rule. This one says that you should put 50% of your monthly income into needs, so things like your rent or your groceries, a further 15% into your retirement savings, so things like your 401k or your IRA account, and the last 5% into an emergency fund in case something unexpected happens. And you might have noticed that this actually only adds up to 70%. For the remaining 30%, you're free to use it however you want. If after watching this video you're encouraged to start budgeting, Money Under 30 does have a free Excel spreadsheet that you can use as well. You can find it in this article over here, and all you need to do is scroll down and just download it over here. And here's what it looks like on Excel. You'll have all of the instructions over here, and you've got a split by income, your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and lastly your occasional expenses. And in case you're unsure of what something means, you can always go over here, which is where there's the notes. As you can see, the small red thing means a note. And over on the right hand side, you're going to have your debt, your savings, as well as the outputs, which are going to be in blue. As you can see over here, it gives you a breakdown of your income and expenses in totals, as well as what you have remaining, as well as your saving ratio and your debt to income ratio. And lastly, here you're going to get a debrief of how you're doing overall. And if we move on to the other tabs, like say the January tab, over here you can see that you have the breakdown by month and the day of the month split by categories. And then over here you're going to have the starting balance, then you're going to have what's remaining, and with notes of each thing and what you need to put in it. And lastly, towards the bottom, you're going to have the full totals over here. That's all for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, you can also see some of my other videos on my YouTube channel at Kenji Explains. That's all for this one, and I'll see you in the next one.